You're listening to a 4x4 Radio Network podcast.
Hey Jeepers, Melanie here from MelanieSueSpeaks.com. You're listening to On the Trail with Kevin and Scott.
Hey Jeeples, welcome to the December 1st.
I had to do it.
You did.
I had to do it.
You did. And I'm going to leave this in. Anyway, the December 1st podcast of On the Trail with Kevin and Scott. I'm Kevin, the normally sane one, the one who is an engineer, reads the instructions, follows them mostly, and uses the correct tools. Whereas...
And I'm Scott. I am the audio engineer that plugged in the headphone outlet to the line out and the line out to the headphone jack. We couldn't hear each other. The GoPro's over there crying in midlife crisis. And I'm the one that clearly did not read the instructions. But then, thanks to Kevin saying, did you have it backward? And I'm like, I think I had it backward. And we plugged a couple things in, and boom, here we are. Bada bing, bada boom. And other than that, I'm just here. Hi, guys.
Yes, well, it is the forgiving season, so we shall forgive and move on.
Yes.
All right.
So while we are forgiving, remember, it's up to you to do your research.
Read the instructions.
And please follow them.
Please follow them.
Like I forgot the feng shui of that opening. Hi, guys. Again. And gals.
Hey, that's what I think they like is, we're definitely not reusing a re-recorded script for the same time, and the voices from 3 years ago, you doing the same thing over
and over
and over
and over and over. Great Foley effect right there.
So, hey, wintertime topics. Even though our ideas we mentioned in our pre-setup discussions, winter for us is it's chilly, 61 degrees.
If you're cold, put some socks on with your flip-flops.
Ooh.
I'm rocking socks and Crocs. I'm not, but I'm just saying. I know some people who are, shout out to the legends, who are wearing socks and Crocs.
Yes. Well, I'm shouting out to Rick Payway, the editor-in-chief of JP Magazine, who goes everywhere in sandals. Yeah. And it's like, hey, rock on, dude. Rock on.
It's like Gabe everywhere has four-wheel drive flip-flops.
Yeah.
It's like, dude. Windrock, Tennessee. Flip-flops.
Yeah. But no, we were just sitting there thinking about everybody else. And we're at that part of the year where, it's favorable to be down here in the South for the most part, as opposed to up freezing your off.
We deep fry our turkeys down here.
Well, some of you do.
I know.
Some of you go out to the local Cracker Barrel.
By the time this recording has come out, Scott has enjoyed his Cracker Barrel Thanksgiving dinner. I can't cook much food in my oven. An easy bake oven is bigger than my oven now.
Yes. We know. Scott is still in the process. He's in the process of moving residences, and for the moment is a full-time RVer.
Yes.
And some of you will know what that means, and other ones can Google it.
Yeah. Hey, really quickly though, I do have one quick announcement. The last time we recorded, we talked about King Louis with Troy. Mm-hmm. Of course, King Louis did pass on, but you're seeing your Garfield calendar here reminded me that Troy's heart couldn't take it anymore, and he got another little puppy named Odie. It is a cutest little ball of fluff. Oh my goodness! So everything, congratulations on Odie and Troy and the family. He's a cute little bugger.
Well,
good news.
I'll have to meet him one of these days.
Absolutely, and get slurped.
So, hey, I did look back, and we do kind of cover a similar topic this time most every single year, and that's in addition to the upcoming holiday. Yeah. But what do we have look forward to in 2020? Yeah. And what are we starting off the first quarter with? And I thought we'd hit real quick with some of the Jeep events that you may choose to get involved with where each of you live, as well as some of the bigger events that are going to be coming up in the not too distant future here in Florida.
Yeah, give you time to get pre-registered and also hotels booked.
Now, this one's going to happen in the next 2 weeks. So if you're going to get involved in this, you need to get booking, and hopefully it's not too late. Yeah. But almost every federal cemetery of the military cemetery extensions of Arlington National Cemetery is participating in Wreaths Across America. And I do know it's a big thing down here because where we are in Tampa, There's, of course, the U.S. CENTCOM headquarters, SOCOM headquarters, Southcom down in Miami. So the whole wreaths across America. The goal is to put a Christmas wreath on every tombstone if possible. And I know not just here, a lot of the state cemeteries, Jeepers chime in and helps. Since there is a really high percentage of Jeepers that are former military, so they tend to take this to heart. You can get involved at wreathsacrossamerica.org.
Yes.
Check out what your local cemetery is and if they need help. You can do this. You can obviously volunteer to donate towards wreaths, or you can just go donate your time and help put wreaths on the gravestones.
Yes.
It's a real simple process. But when you look at how many soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Coasties have given their lives in the name of service, you realize it's a big job, and they can use all the help they can get. So
it's giving something back.
Look into that. The other thing that is coming up it's already started, but you can always get into is the toy drives. Particularly, what is it? Toys for Tots is a big one the Marines run. Your Jeep clubs, your cells, you guys can donate. You can offer to haul. It sounds really weird, but they usually need some help at all of these centers. They have those drop boxes that are scattered all over counties and cities and the states, and they have to go pick them up. And I know down here we offer to do that through some of the local Jeep clubs. I've heard of it being done in Texas, a couple of places in Pennsylvania. That might be something you can look into, that you want to get a group of Jeepers together and maybe you can't go wheeling. Well, you know what? It's pretty cool to load up on toys and take them to the local donation center.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's what's coming up right now. Now I'm going to go back to our local stuff that's coming up for 2020.
Yes.
Boy, that makes me feel old. 2020. So what is coming up in 2020?
Ooh, 2020, the vision of looking into the future.
Yuck. So, for those of you who are escaping the cold, you can come on down here to Central Florida for February 21 through 23, Clear Springs Ranch, Florida. It's
Jeeping with Judd.
Yeah. Our favorite local sheriff, Grady Judd, he puts on one heck of it is a family-friendly show.
Absolutely.
One heck of a fantastic show. Clear Springs Ranch actually has some of the best hill climbs in Florida. He's also got some of the highest, or deepest
sugar sand
to go play in, and some of the valleys.
It's like 20,000 acres.
It's enormous, and every year the number of Jeeps goes up and goes up and goes up. And yes, they have camping slots. It's all primitive camping though, so make sure you bring your water tanks and your other tanks. And you haul out. You don't dump there. But it's a fantastic get together. The sponsor list continues to grow, and so if you need to get away from the snow for a while, come on down to Florida this February.
Good chance of liquid snow.
No,
I'm not wrong.
I know you're not.
Yeah.
It's the above 32 version of snow.
Yeah.
And fortunately, it's all sand here, so it hits it and it's gone.
Kind of like a snowman kit. You get a bucket with a corn. Listen to me, corn. Oh my God, I'm a deep Southern boy. I didn't make my snowman with corn. No, forget it. The joke's gone. That one died in the vine.
The other one that's coming up a little later in that, and it's not too soon to start talking about it for 2020, although it's not that long ago we were talking about it for 2019.
I know, man. Jeez.
It's what happens when you get older. Time gets going faster.
Yeah, I know. Life can be a beach if you don't pay attention sometimes.
Oh, you just slid it in there, didn't you?
I absolutely did.
Yeah.
Wait, no. If I was going to go ahead and do something like sneaky, I'd say, hey, right now, December 1st, Sandy Claus is coming up. And then Sandy Claus goes on his vacation in Florida, which would mean Jeeps, and I'm grasping at straws now. And
quit sandbagging and move on, folks. Of course, we're joking around, talking about the big event, and I do stress big.
Yes.
Although I have a new definition of big after going to SEMA.
Yeah.
But still, this is huge when you take up the entire infield of the
Daytona Motor Speedway.
So what else are we talking about but Jeep Beach, folks?
Yeah.
April 20th through 26th. Keep an eye on it. Their website's up already. They're talking about teasing on the pre-registration coming up. And I'll be honest with you, the reason I bring it up now is if you want to go, get a hotel room reservation now.
Summer priority is sold out.
Yeah. So,
hey, real quick question. This is show 82, right?
I
think
believe
it's
so.
82. Okay, this is show 82, guys. I forgot to say that at the beginning. I just grabbed my phone to verify and make sure. And if we screwed up and it's actually 83 or 81, we're sorry, but we're constantly striving to do better.
We're striving. We're not moving very far forward, but hey.
Hey, we took liner notes this time.
Well, I jotted some notes down because I've lost track on a few other things.
Nothing worse than after you get done recording going, oh, we forgot to mention this.
Yeah, well, that's what I use when I do the videos and do the undertyping going,
Yes.
yep, I meant to say that. So those are just a teaser into the first quarter. If you local have some events in your area coming up for 2020 for the first quarter and would like to have them announced on the podcast, email us, Facebook us.
And you name it, on the trail podcast at gmail.com. And one thing Kevin and I would like to do a little more is if you got an event and you want to talk and get the word out like we talked about, like we do at Chrissy.
We'll interview you.
Reach out to us.
And
Come
we can
on
do
by.
it by phone.
We can do it by phone, or if it's a local interview or a local place, let us know. We'll come out and take a look at the place.
Right. We'd be glad to give you a hand getting the word out. So, if you've got some local events, let's spread the word about the local events. I don't really care. I do know that Bantam Jeep Festival's coming up not too distant future as well. I don't have the specs on that, so I will have that by the next show. That's one of the ones Sue and I want to get to.
Yeah.
And teaser on that one for a garage topic is I'm in the process of figuring out how to turn slightly altered into a toad. Little Harry Potter. Boop. No, that stands for TOWED.
I was going to say you have to change your Jeep name to Neville.
Nope, not quite.
No, Trevor. That's what it was. Trevor. I almost forgot that.
Yeah, that's good. And trying to make it a flat towable vehicle without sacrificing trail capabilities.
Okay.
So, and I Googled that, and it was not a common situation. It took me a while to find the tow rig that I could use. It's taking me a while to figure out how to do the braking properly. The wiring, not so much. Jeep wiring is Jeep wiring. Hey, I got 3 wires. I know. And
I got 3 wires and 4 slots.
But we'll do a little garage segment on that. So you want to tow your Jeep, and I know I'm a big advocate of trailer towing.
Yeah.
And yes, I have a flatbed trailer. I intend to do most of my towing on the flatbed. However, life experiences have taught me that most state parks
I just get ready to say that
do not have parking areas for. They call them accessory trailers.
Yes.
So as opposed to your RV trailer. So, you can't, if you have an accessory trailer, some don't even have room for tow dollies.
Wow.
You're supposed to stuff it in your campsite. 16-foot long dual axle flatbed. I'd have to rent it. Basically,
you're renting 2 campsites.
Yeah, the nice ones were like, well, you can rent 2 campsites adjacent to each other, sir, if they're available.
Yeah, only $30 a night, if you're lucky.
If you're lucky. So we're working on that, trying to take into account a lot of the questions and challenges of flat towing. What does it do to the tires? How does it affect the steering? What's the safest way to make sure that the gears, I'm not dragging it?
Yeah.
And I'm taking notes as I'm figuring all this stuff out, and I figure it'll make a neat garage segment later on, because I can't be the only guy who wants to flat tow their Jeep.
You just want to basically be able to flat tow and get in and drive it. A lot of people like the flat towing. They'll say the first thing they tell everyone else is, well, just pull the drive shafts. Oh, okay, that's great, but that's a lot of work.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
That's an awful lot of work. And I realized I'm already halfway there with the locking front hubs.
Yeah.
So I can unlock my front wheels. So we're not going to go deep into the garage on that one as I work out the details. And there may be even some videos of some of the transition as time goes on.
Yeah. That's definitely. Videos are always a helpful hand.
So what else have we got on the docket for this show?
Oh, man. Well, it's December 1st.
Yep.
Basically for your Jeep loved ones. Trademark holiday song. Trademark. So, no, we kind of do this every year, kind of briefly touch on it, but, gift ideas.
Well, we went to Santa's Closet for Jeeps just last month, so let's talk about it.
Well, so can I byline real quickly? I do want a quick little byline is, we did a questionnaire and SEMA kind of reached out. They're people, if you will, and they want to hear how, from you guys in a way, the interaction. So basically, if you liked our coverage, let us know.
Yeah.
Social media, Facebooks. Speaking of social media and Facebooks, when I posted the one little video that we put up there on our Facebook page, Brian, he loves listening to us. You got, Ed, again, he loves listening to us. And even Jeremy sent us some all. Yeah, everyone sent us messages. So thank you guys for your feedback on our coverage.
And that's important to us.
Yes.
Because SEMA, we're a first-time media attendee, and we have to validate that we actually got the word out.
Yeah.
And they want to know how you guys received it. Was it good? Was it bad? Is there something we should do different? Should we focus somewhere else? So anything that you guys care to comment on, I don't have a Survey Monkey to be able to send out a survey, and I wouldn't annoy you with it anyway. I used to hate it when I got them too.
Well, there's two reasons for that. Kevin and I are kind of low key. I even though I love getting that phone call, we're calling you about your car's extended warranty, and I go, okay, I got a 2005 Jeep Wrangler. Well, how many miles? And I lie a little bit, and I say 230,000. Was that the only vehicle you own? Yep. Click. Well, see, recently I bought the banana hammock, which is a 4-door crew cab Nissan Frontier, and now when they call about that one, which is an 04, I can say it's got 236,000 miles, and I'm not lying.
No. And so, folks, he did not get rid of either Jeep. No, this is just a daily. Scott and driving in Tampa has not had the greatest track record.
No,
very few of his vehicles get turned in. They get towed away.
Well, so many miles. But back to the original statement is that Kevin and I, we don't, if we do send us an email and people are worried that email lists, because a big thing is copying, like you talked about COPA.
Yeah.
Getting your information and all that. Guys, it's going to a Gmail account that's answering on me and Kevin's phone or our desktops.
Yeah.
I am, two reasons. One, I don't want to do that to you guys. No. And number two, I'm too lazy. Selling your information? No, I'm not going to do that.
No, I have no intention of selling it. And speaking of information, shout out to everybody who requested a copy of the gear tire ratio calculator. Yeah. I have sent out everybody that I got, unless you have some that I don't know about, Scott. No. But simple Excel file lets you plop in some information about the tire sizes you're playing with, what your gear ratios are, and what transmission you have. That's what a lot of people forget, is transmission can affect the ratio.
What about the transfer case?
Transfer case should, if we're doing RPMs to speed, your transfer case should be a null, because it should be a 1-to-1 when it's in normal high range.
Okay.
But if you wanted to play around and say, well, what RPM would I get? You should be able to make adjustments that way as well. Okay. But you just plug in some numbers, and it's kind of fun to play with it because it gives you an idea. And if you, as I tell folks when I send it out, is Google your make, model, and year for the engine in your vehicle to see what your horsepower and torque curve looks like. What's the published? And if you can set your gear ratios and or your tire sizes to where you're up on that power band,
that sweet spot
right in the middle, you've got a great choice, and you're probably going to be satisfied. On the other hand, as I say, if you're one of those folks that would rather have the power over the economy, you can move that direction. And if you want to have a little more economy and are willing to sacrifice a little low-end grunt, you can move it to the other end of the band and drop your RPMs a little bit down. But you'll know when you go too far. You go, well, okay, I want a little more economy, so I'm gonna push my gear set, back the other way, but that way you're not going to drop to 410s when you fall off the power curve, because you'll know that, well, maybe 456s, is right on the economy edge to then losing too much power, and you can kind of make smarter decisions. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, so math is important.
It is, and I've tried to make it as simple as I can for you folks.
Basically, what he's really saying is he dumbed it down to my level. So if I can understand it, you guys got it easy.
Yeah. So anyhow, back to the topic.
Oh yeah.
Of
I had a scroll moment.
Yeah, he does that. The Christmas gifts, Christmas gift ideas for Christmas 2019. Actually, you can probably go back and look at all the Christmas ideas for the past 3 years that we've been doing this show, and it won't have changed much, will it?
No. I mean, well, except for me, now I need new seats for the LJ and new control arms and new suspension and all this and all that and this. But something really quick, because they took time to talk to us, and the more I thought about it, is that iDrive, the pedal commander, or the iDrive, the little gimmick they had. Not a gimmick, sorry.
It's not a gimmick.
No, that's why we interviewed them to make sure, because I thought it was snake oil, and they took time to explain what that did. And honestly, that's going to be kind of like, that might be on the JK's Christmas tree list.
Yeah. Well, the iDrive is a relatively new product, and I'll touch on it again. It basically plugs in place of your security officer. Zaya is at the door and standing on her hind feet, pushing the door, going, "It's supposed to open. I'm not denied access anywhere." Anyhow, it modifies your throttle pedal signals through a little intermediate, and it helps to take out driver out of lag. And the biggest thing is, it gets rid of what's called the pedal dead zone.
Yeah.
And the newer Jeeps, you know it. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You start to push the pedal down and nothing happens, and then it comes on.
Right.
And they get rid of that, so it becomes instantaneous. But the other tweak that we found fascinating,
that's the one that was a selling point to me,
is you also have the other problem with today's electronic throttles, is that when they come on, they don't come on fractionally. They're on.
Yeah, it's a digital switch.
It's a digital switch. So when you're in low range, especially certain people that we know who have the Rubicon 4-to-1.
As he points at me with the 513 gears.
You get that leap.
Yeah.
Now, it's a leap all the way to 1 mile an hour, but
Right.
it's a leap, And if you're trying to, just a little, you just drove through the tree kind of thing. There is no finesse there.
Yeah.
Well, the iDrive, you can, you can do it live. As you're sitting in there
Yes.
while you're driving, you can actually move the mode up or down.
Mm-hmm.
So you can actually dumb your pedal down to factory or even slower, so
Yes.
that you actually have to put in a half an inch of travel, and that's my metaphor.
Right. Which actually is handy if you're bouncing on rocks or something like
You
that.
can, you can keep from breaking parts.
Yeah, and that's the key point.
And I just wait for the first guy who having made it up that mountain obstacle, yeah, and he goes to pull away, and he puts his foot down, and oh, wait a minute, let me beep, 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 boom.
Exactly. Well, and that to me was a selling point. That was, is like, okay, because, as you know, low range, you're geared down really low, the whole 9 yards. It's easy to get to break something. We talk about how, stress on driveline components. That's why a lot of these events, they want you in 4 low when you're driving the obstacle course to not tear the place up.
Yeah, looking at their little brochure here, it looks like you have normal mode, which is the iDrive is basically off. Economy mode, which is the one you use off road,
right?
It gives you much more control, power in low throttle. It dampens your throttle input.
And then they have dang the torpedoes.
They have an ultimate performance mode. 9 stages of ultimate, where you can go 1 through 3, 4 through 6, 7 through 9. Strap yourself in and activate launch control.
I know where Dory's gonna be driving most of the time.
And then automatic AC. It adjusts itself based on your driving. And they said a lot of people just use that unless they're on the trail. So, all right, Scott, that's your I wanna number one would be an iDrive.
Yeah, well, and then for the LJ, honestly, I'm probably going to hit up the Essentials catalog a little bit, at Quadratech, because one, again, there was Tony and I think the names were, let's see here, Kevin's got the information.
Yep. Steve Fisher and Tom Cosia.
I was way off, but anyways,
you were.
But really nice guys, and again, I now that I get 2 Jeeps, I get 4 magazines a month now. But a lot of really cool stuff.
They're different
in there.
series, and you get the focused ones. So you get the JKs and then you get the TJs.
And I really want a new pair of seats, because again, 130,000 miles of these seats, the springs are worn out, and that sounds really cool, and that's relatively cheap, and it's one of those upgrades that I learned from you that if you buy the right seat, it takes out some of the harshness of the TJ.
Yeah, well, a lot of it, a luxury car is the seat, not the suspension. The suspension plays a key part, but suspension's got to move. You don't got to move, except forward. And the idea is that a good suspension seat, the better that you can afford, it's how comfortable do you want to be. Really makes a huge difference. As we've talked about before and slightly altered, a lot of people get in it going, what did you do to the Jeep? Nothing. I just put different seats in.
No, come on. You sometimes, I'm sure, I've had top secret technology just to keep the aura of mysticism.
There is. That was a cute gimmick, but, okay. No. I do have a system.
Yeah, no, you did a well thought out. You did plenty of bench builds and a system.
And so, but the seats really cracked it because, before I had the seats in, It rode better than an average Jeep, but it was still a Jeep.
Yeah.
Now it's as close to a sports car on 4-wheel drive as I can get.
Yeah.
So
even people with the same suspension systems are like, well, mine just doesn't ride like yours.
yeah, no, it doesn't. The Jeep actually does. If I set my butt down on the back seat, it feels just like your back seat. It's the front seats where I spent the money.
Exactly.
So that's pretty good.
So how about you?
Well, I'll tell you what I'm looking for, folks, is the C-Tech charger.
Yeah, we talked about last show.
We talked about the last show.
And the cool thing about it is you had a chance to actually talk with them a little bit and get some of the ins and outs where it's not just a regular good old-fashioned battery charger,
Yeah, it's smarter than even some of the other smart chargers. And it's the first one that I've talked to a technician and that they came up and said, well, this is how it works. And it doesn't just assume because of the voltage being where it is that it should be this kind of battery. That's easier to program, okay? But this one actually probably costs a little bit more, but it analyzes the battery. So it's basically the same as my trickle charger and my battery analyzer in one unit. It analyzes the battery. It starts to charge it. It gets to a stepping point of a given voltage. And so, like I said before last show, if it's a 12-volt battery down to 5 volts, it's going to start it and go, okay, I'm going to bring it up till I get to the 6-volt, and then I'm going to analyze it. And it's going to be, oh, nope, this isn't a 6-volt. This is actually a depleted 12. And then it'll pick up again and do more bulk charging. And it will work its way up to, and some of their models will go up to 24 volts. So it'll check all the way up. And, given the heavy usage that Jeep batteries see, particularly mine, the winch, automatic air conditioning.
All the light bars. If looks could kill, bury me twice.
No, it's just, I was going to say they're going, well, actually, that's the problem I've been having is not power overconsumption. It's underconsumption. And some of the things in the Jeep, because mine's an 05 and I've LED converted everything, I had to stop and go backwards and put a couple of incandescents in because even the LED flashers and blinker assemblies were going, anybody out there?
Will you knock it off?
Not enough power draw to trigger anything. So
you're using there taping rocks to the wire just to get some resistance. I broke Kevin. Oh my God. You have to zoom in on that now in the video. I did it.
How the hell?
I did it. Oh, we have to charge a pet rock.
Charging a pet rock. Now that would be something new for the new decade. That's it. Bring back the pet rock, but have a USB plug on the butt.
New from Kevin Co Industries, the USB powered pet rock. That's right. Can be yours. Sit, stay, roll over, play dead. Good job, doggy.
Oh, and it's very good. Well, it's even better. If somebody has a home invasion, it'll fight back. All you have to do is pick it up and throw it in the direction of the invader.
Oh,
results vary upon your aim.
Great. Fully assault pet rock. All right, so
we have a large version too. If you want to drop him out of a second-story window.
Oh, jeez. New from Acme, the pet rock piano.
How about the pet concrete block?
The user makes no implied fast words and talking, and crane not included.
So anyway, some other gift ideas. I mean, you've got, of course, the LJ is.
Just don't take your pet rock for granted.
I have created a monster, folks. I'm sorry.
Delicious. Okay, I'm back.
So you're going to be needing probably to eventually start working on body armor and things. So, we saw all that neat stuff from Warrior Products.
Oh, yeah, Warrior Products has some really cool stuff. And the cool thing about some of the Warrior products is that they had the tube, that was one of the hexagonal tube, right? I can't think of the word. Is hexagonal really a word, or did I just make that up?
Hexagonal.
Hexagonal. Okay. I just had I mixed up two letters.
That's fine.
It was fancy.
And then, of course, if you're into camping or into the
American Expedition
for the overlanding.
Yes.
Overlanding. Those guys had some really neat stuff. Their tents and their gear. You like their lights. So,
the sequential turn signals are for the Gladiators and LJs.
So there's some ideas, and then there's some tool areas there. We saw those neat lifts because, we all have lifted Jeeps and some of us are vertically challenged.
Someone brought up a good point, though.
But
a lot of those lifts that hold the tires up are for vehicles already on a lift.
Yep.
So there's not
and
really
they make lower versions.
They do?
They do,
Oh,
indeed.
okay, good.
They make one that kind of looks like a modified hand truck. And you just slide it under the tire and you lift it up. This is the one Scott just grabbed the brochure on. It's an elevated creeper from Nomad.
Oh, that's
and
right.
That is so cool if you're short like I am.
Okay? I got a similar one from my dad many moons ago.
And basically you roll, this thing looks like a rolling step ladder. Take a step ladder and put it on an engine hoist base.
Yeah.
That's really what they did.
Yeah.
And you roll it up to the front of your vehicle and then start up it and you pull a little lever and you and the whole upper section slowly relax down and lock in so that you're prone above the engine without putting any weight on any of those plastic parts that break.
Yeah, because that it's always that one plug at the back of the engine.
When you reach over, you put your hand down to hold yourself up, and all of a sudden you feel that
snap.
Oh, no.
If you're lucky, it's just a snap. Other time you put your hand on something, all of a sudden you feel the plastic digging through your hand.
Yeah, well, and the wire pops out of the back of your wrist.
Exactly. You're now a part of the vehicle.
So, but of course, then we also saw lots of neat stuff from companies like ARB.
Yeah.
Obviously they have big lockers and all the gear sets you're talking about, but you know that they make body armor too.
Oh, not only that, but they also have like a full, complete overlanding kit.
They do.
It was like soup to what.
Well, the other thing that was really neat about them was, how I'm big pushing on, if you're not an engineer and you're not willing to sit down and do your homework, don't buy pieces, buy a system.
Right.
ARB now has full overlanding, crawler, wheeler packages developed, shocks, bumpers, springs, guards, everything as
baskets.
A designed, engineered system that you don't have to think through it. They've already done all the homework. So, that's a big shout out to them. Because I like seeing more and more manufacturers putting it all together in one place so that you can go out and say, this is what I want to do. And they go, oh, that's this assembly here.
Well, and before people get the sticker shot and go, oh, that's so much money. Well, think about it. The engineering, the time was done, and how much is buying a lift kit? Kevin and I, many times, hey, I want to lift my Jeep. What do I want to do? So I send on the show link to show 2, I think, or show 23 or whatever it was, where I said, hey, it's not just the lift. It's the drive shafts. It's the brakes.
When you add it all up, usually these package deals end up being comparable or slightly cheaper than doing it right.
Yeah.
The people who said I did it cheaper usually didn't do it right and are usually paying the price somewhere else in terms of either performance, safety, or reliability.
And I checked all 4 of those boxes. It wasn't cheap. It hasn't been reliable. It's kind of sketchy on the safety, and
we've made our few repairs on it.
Hence why I now have the banana hammock.
Yep. And then the other one I'm going to throw out there for ideas, and this is a weird one. A lot of people wouldn't think to go here.
Yeah.
But your Mopar dealer, your Jeep dealer, there is a whole plethora of Mopar Jeep related stuff that they sell. Everything from weird little things, how about, would you believe that they make wireless earbuds? So if you're a diehard Jeep, stocking stuffers, and of course there's all the Jeep branded outerwear, hats and that kind of stuff, koozies. I mean, this one's kind of cool to me. I'm sitting here looking at a Helephant, which is the 426 engine that's they're working on as a Christmas ornament. Well,
one thing too, like the Mopar stuff's really cool, but also check your local stuff. Like we have shirts and vendors and stuff like that here. Jeep on it, Jeep Girl Nation. You even check the local shops, see what Christmas deals they have. You have Red Scorpion Fab Works, a Jeep Lab, Bonnie and Specialty Powder Coats. These places, they may have a Christmas.
Well, that's here, but all of our listeners, look around your area.
That's, local shops.
But Scott, you mentioned it in the beginning. Is if there was the equivalent of when I was a kid, we all waited for the Christmas catalog from Sears to come in.
Yes,
because it had every toy that was ever made. The ones that put your eyes out, the ones that you could hit your sister with, the one your sister could hit you back with. Everything you can imagine.
The newest ball in a cup.
That too.
You missed my stick and hoop comment. Either that or you glossed right over it.
I'm getting better at that. And that is, of course, is our friends at Quadratech.
Yeah.
And no, they're not sponsoring this, but I still got to say, anybody who'll target my catalog down to the year and model series of my Jeep, and then send me a list of, pre-built systems, and let me pick and choose and compare.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. You can get a lot of ideas, and you can buy from them. But if you buy somewhere else, at least you've got that package to look through. It's kind of like the Christmas catalog.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of Christmas catalogs, didn't you, if you want to go and take a little break, because I want to step out in the garage for a minute and help you get those Christmas lights out of the attic, and maybe we can go from there.
It sounds like a plan, except I don't keep the lights in the attic, but that's fine.
I was going to say, dibs on the Rudolph. We'll be right back. Hey, Jeeper, just want to take a few minutes just to remind you also to check out all of the great content on the 4x4 Radio Network. Again, you got the Jeep Talk Show, you got Trail Chasers, Center Steer Podcast, 4x4 Podcast. Just name it and check those guys out and tell them that we sent you. And on that, back to the Garage Clicker. Alrighty, now that we're back here and the garage door is up, I got a quick question for you there, Kevin. The pink Christmas tree, is that Kelly's or yours?
No, that's actually Kelly's.
Okay, good.
And yes, it actually exists in the attic.
I know, that's why I said it.
I'm trying to remember what Christmas that was a couple years ago. She made a comment to a place that we went to, and they were like, "Oh, you like it? Here, take it." Oh, joy.
I remember that.
Yes, but fortunately, my daughter keeps it in her room at Christmas, and if it makes her happy, I'm okay with it.
Yes, happy daughter, happy life.
Well, that too.
So, quick question.
Yes.
We got the coldness coming, if it's not already here to our northern Canada listeners. Please stay warm up there.
It's further south in Canada this year. I'm surprised that a lot of New England and the North Centrals have already been shoveling snow for quite a few weeks.
Yeah, Florida had a full-blown freak out because it was like 35 here for a couple days.
I know. It's like, wait a minute. And that was back in November. Mm-hmm. It's like, what the? Who? That's not supposed to happen until January and only for a day.
It's like they always say, like winters at 8 a.m., fall or springs at 10, summer at 2, and then back to autumn again at 4.
Yeah.
Dress accordingly.
Dress accordingly. Layers, folks, layers.
Exactly.
Actually, what did we say? We have 2 seasons here, hot and hurricane.
I wish it wasn't true.
So anyway, here in the garage, it is that lovely time of year where your thoughts kind of have to turn from mud and sand to ice and snow.
Yes.
For most of us, and the Jeep is a great vehicle for that kind of mixed driving. It really is, as long as you're ready for it. And we'll start off real quick with our typical winter discussion over getting your Jeeps ready for winter.
Right.
If you're not already there. And if you're not, you're behind the curve. Shame on you. But, this is when we get to the recording. SEMA kind of bumped things out a little bit.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, too, like when we talk about maintenance, sometimes people, they drive something like that. Yes. And for my next trick, I'll talk in the English language. So I speak like I write. Those of us with the daily drivers, sometimes, this is a time for down season. This is a time for maintenance and working and, taking that little extra time. Because as we know, oh, honey, I'm just going to be out there for 1 minute. I just got to do this one thing. And, 4 hours later, your significant other's tapping their foot going, dinner?
Yeah. And a lot of the places we like to wheel often are closed when the weather turns sour because of their liability and risk. Off-road parks tend to close their doors if the trails become completely unpassable.
And the malls have their hours.
Oh, that too.
Holiday hours. Sorry, I had to.
I know you do. And you're the guy who probably parks on snow piles if you've ever been up north during the winter.
Unfortunately, I have been up north in North Carolina, and the exterior kind of slid, so parking in that snow pile at the Ingalls Shopping Center was not my choice and not on purpose.
Basically,
I threw him for a loop.
No, I'm just trying to get the right wording here. Is a little bit of a earth-shattering news. North Carolina may have the word north, but it's south of the Mason-Dixon line.
Everything south. I just learned from talking to you where the Mason-Dixon line was. I literally thought it was like halfway through the foot. No, anything south of Pennsylvania, you're a Yankee, or
pretty much. Yeah, that's why Virginia fought for the South.
Mr. Peabody. All right, so moving on from this.
So anyway,
yes.
Let's start off with the obvious one. You've been playing all season long in the spring and the summer and even in the fall. You've been running the trails, climbing the mud banks, bouncing the rocks, whatever. And you're looking at those big old meaty tires going, yeah, come on, snow. Come on, snow. I'm going to ask you one simple question. Looking close at the sidewall, does it have the little snowflake and mountain peaks on it?
And not the Disney one, let it go.
Correct.
Yes. Mine don't have that, but I know they are all season finger quotations.
Yeah, well, all season isn't the same as winter rated.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind, folks. If your tires are not actually a winter rated tire, and a lot of off-road tires are not winter rated tires, the softer compounds that are designed to grip those rocks so well or to claw their way through the mud get very hard and slippery when they get below 32 degrees.
And they don't even have siping.
And they really, some do, some don't. But the whole thing is that don't expect, just because you have big tread lugs, necessarily to have great winter traction. Snow tires, or snow rated tires is a better way to talk them. Those that have the little snowflake and the little 3 mountain point emblem on them, it's small, but you can look, or you can just Google the tire.
It's usually next to the DOT number.
It is next to that tells you that it has been certified as a cold weather tire.
Right.
And of course, if your tires are worn, down to where you are showing no siping, or heaven forbid, one of the wear bars is showing. That's
or down the 2011 tires on your Jeep.
Yeah, if they're more than 8 years old. But specifically, if they're worn, you may want to think about getting them replaced now.
Yeah, because the super swampers will end you superly into the ditch if you're not careful.
Right.
And you can get hurt, beaten up, killed, damage the rug, damage the rig. I can't talk.
And this is a podcast, so that's a liability. Couple other things. Now's the time to check your battery condition, and if you don't have a battery analyzer, I'm not just talking voltage, but I'm talking about, stop in at one of the battery stores, Batteries Plus Bulbs, they usually will throw an analyzer on, and Pep Boys will throw an analyzer, and just do a quick load check and make sure that it's cold weather happy, that if you can, if it is a flooded cell battery, you can check the electrolyte levels.
They even have those little testers, too, that test the acidity.
Well, the concentration, the acidic concentration.
Math.
But that's worth doing now, because it's a lot easier to do it now while it's just cold than it is when there's, a foot of snow on the hood and you're trying to do it in the big, thick, muckluck gloves kind of things.
Hey, Kilroy does not wait till it's warm and you're comfortable and not on the way to work to, act up.
Yeah, and I'll give you a shout out. I have used, and I'll end up bought the Foxwell brand battery analyzer as a small clip-on battery analyzer, and it has performed very well for me. Yeah. It's an under $100 purchase, and it kind of puts you in control of your battery, so you can check it. It'll tell you charge state. It'll also check your charging system. So everything that you go to a shop to have done, most shops do it for free, so it's not a big thing, but still, if you want to have that control of your destiny, because Jeeps are hard on batteries, everything from starting to winching to lights, as you said. So,
and if you don't have time and you're really busy, you can do one of the subjects coming up is lights. You can go to any dealership and they'll do what's called a 21-point safety inspection. They'll check most of that stuff. Again, make sure, but
How about your wipers?
Yeah.
Let's face it, you've run the wipers all summer long. You've wiped off all the mud spatter and dirt and dust, pollen, tree branches, sand in our case. They're getting worn. The edges aren't really good. Well, when it gets cold and that film doesn't get squeegeed off the windshield, it turns to a sheet of ice, and all of a sudden you can't see out your windshield.
If they don't freeze.
If they don't freeze to the windshield. So,
well, on that note, too, when you talk about using the wiper blades and all that, even the rubber can break down. So even if you don't use your rubber, your wiper blades very often, in 6 months, they could be wasted.
Yeah, particularly here in Florida in the sun. But then again, we don't get the snow.
Yeah.
We do get the wiper blades that peel off in little rubber band strands. Yeah. But
I got an octopus on
cheap,
my windshield.
You can run down to your local Wally World, any one of your parts stores, pick up a good set. You know what? If you're putting new ones on, take a look. There are some that are rated for winter. So you can, if you live in a high snow and slush state where you have a lot of problems, they sell those wipers that are either a mono blade, they don't have the flexible joints exposed, or they have the rubber cap over the backside of the arm so it can't get clogged up and ice up and freeze.
While you're on the wiping subject, though, a good thing to check out, and I know it's next up on the list, is your solution inside the washer fluid tank.
Oh yeah, because if you're like me, I'm cheap all summer.
Yeah,
I put water in.
I put a little bit of food coloring in. Sometimes I put cologne from them. People are tailgating me all of a sudden, and they're like, "What the heck? They got some cologne everywhere." It's like, back off, buddy.
Okay.
I don't recommend that.
Disturbing thought.
I've never done that. Thought about it. I have thought about it, but I've never done it.
But and don't just put the solution, the antifreeze solution in your tank if you've been running water. Then go over and run your wiper until this fluid coming out is blue or green, because you may fill the tank, but the lines are still full of regular water, and that will freeze up. Yeah,
and that's not good. There are no expansion plugs on the tank of your windshield washer.
Similarly, now's the time to go have your antifreeze checked.
Yeah.
When was the last time you flushed and refilled your cooling system?
July of last year.
Well, see, you're doing pretty good. You can remember that. I bet you most people go, well, I don't know.
Because we did the AC AC work in the Jeep.
That was only in the one. How about in the JK?
Just recently done, too.
Okay. So, if you can't remember when the last time you did the change, well, now's a good time to do it, because I will tell you that if you freeze the block, replacing freeze plugs and
although cheap,
freeze plugs are cheap, but the cracked block is not.
No, and the cussing and lots of cussing to get that freeze plug in and out.
Yeah, so check it. You can buy the little monitors that you check the concentration. I'll be honest with you, I just figure it's as good reminder as any to go ahead. It's time to flush and refill.
Yeah,
and make sure you use a 50-50. More is not better. Less is not better. 50-50 gives you the coldest. Protection to the coldest level, and it also gives you the best corrosion protection. People forget there's another side to antifreeze than antifreeze.
Yeah, it's got lubricant for the water pump. It's
lubricant and anti-corrosion for the aluminums and cast irons internal.
Big question.
Yeah.
I saw it on the news, so therefore it must be true. Very topical that if you're in the above the Mason-Dixon line, like our Canadian listeners or Alaskan listeners, is up the percentage a little bit by like maybe 10 to 15% more antifreeze, just because you want that little extra protection, especially if the base temperature is like 0 degrees.
If you look at the charts the manufacturers produce, that is not the case.
Okay.
That actually makes it less freeze resistant by upping the percentage.
Okay.
When they tell you 50-50, they're targeting it right at the lowest point. If they could tell you a different mix with their product, particularly if it used more of their product and it would get you colder, they'd sell you that.
Right, because they're in the business to sell the product.
What it might be is good, and it may have been what they were talking about is, of course, if you are trying to enhance some older fluid, like add as opposed to completely flush and replace, you are replacing some of the, probably some of the anti-corrosive elements and lubricants are gone out of the older
But at this point, which is speculation what they meant and
Correct.
all that.
So my suggestion is, you want that warranty. You from the different Prestones, Autolites, et cetera, you follow their lines.
On that note, if you don't buy pre-mixed, use distilled water.
Yeah, definitely don't introduce any more contaminants into your cooling system than are already there.
And don't. I wish I was making this up. Good old Uncle Bert. He would sit there and work on his car, and the old Impala we had is a powder blue Impala. He would be doing the coolant flush when we got close to winter. And again, man, he didn't get that cold in Florida. He'd always got to get a little bit for the car, and would pour in vodka and a little bit into his glass, and of course a little bit into the radiator, saying, "Well, alcohol will keep it from freezing."
No.
And an impressionable young child at 7 years old just shook his head. I even knew better.
Yeah, I wonder what kind of seals it chewed up.
I don't know, but Uncle Bert was a huge hit.
Well, here's a couple other things you can hit with it cold weather, and it's not necessarily directly cold related, but it's kind of collateral to the fact that winter means what? Longer periods of darkness.
Yes.
So what do you tend to use more?
Well, there's a certain brand out there, they call it, how to say this without getting in trouble with the FDA, something savings time.
Yes.
Headlight.
Yeah.
See, I said it backwards so I can't get sued.
Gotcha. So, you know, you're probably running around like most of us in a lifted Jeep. Now, small portion of you are slamming your Jeeps, and more power to you. Whatever works for you is fine with me.
Yeah.
But the thing is your headlights aren't in the factory position. Some of you may have adjusted them to compensate, but the vast majority, based on when I'm driving down the road,
Really don't care.
And
that causes an eye twitch to me.
It does, because you're blinding the oncoming motorist, and you go, well, that's their problem, not mine.
I can see.
I can see. Well, you know what? If
Till
they
you're head on
can't,
with them one day.
right? Well, you can see, but they can't. So guess what? Most people's innate reaction is to go towards the light. No pun intended.
We're all moth people in a way.
So you blind them. You're likely the target that they're going to hit.
Speaking of LED headlamps, I didn't realize this till we actually covered this a couple years ago when we first started doing the show. LED headlamps are cool. They're great, but they literally are cool. They
Yep.
don't offer any heat, so they can ice up.
And do you know that we mentioned Quadratech? Do you know that one of the models they sell
It's
have
for
heater,
cold weather climates.
and they have a heater built into
Yes.
them. Now you have to wire up the switch.
Right.
But yeah, LED headlights often do not generate enough heat to clear themselves, so you have to pay attention and clear the headlights.
Yeah, and just don't pull an Uncle Bert and put alcohol in it.
Yeah, and melt the plastic lenses.
But like you touched a little bit ago, especially with headlamps and bulbs, do a quick walk around.
Yeah,
you know,
check
and
them all.
It is easier to handle the small screwdriver and the little plastic retainer when your hands aren't frozen, because as you talked earlier, dexterity goes down with the temperature.
Yeah, I can just see you out there going, and when you drop that screw right now, it may be cold, but you can probably still see it on the ground.
Until it drops into a foot of snow.
So, go ahead, give your vehicle a once over.
Yeah.
You may also want to ask yourself, okay, did I wheel hard this year? Did I play in mud and water?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did I go back and flush or change gear lube and transmission lube?
Yeah.
If you didn't, are you sure you don't have any water in there? Because it's a lot easier to look than it is to find out later when your differential's frozen into a brick, because the water turned to a sheet of ice.
Yeah.
And ice is hard enough to break gear teeth, folks.
Yeah.
It's just a reminder here. Catch a theme here. Winter's coming. Let's do all the maintenance we should have done but didn't do throughout the year.
Yeah, because we got back, washed the Jeep. It's good enough. Sit back and have a cold cheesesteak,
Yeah, I pressure washed underneath. Oh, gee, the vent hose was loose. Push it back on. We're good. And here's the last one. All punning aside, and this is a serious one from my point of view, is check out your exhaust system. Particularly if you have trail ridden hard. You could have damaged, you could have pulled something loose, or it could be rusty and cracked. Do the start the engine up, leave it in idle, take a wad of rags in your hand and go plug the exhaust pipe. See if you hear any whistling or pushing, or does the thing blow the rag out of your hand. If it blows the rag out of your hand, you're probably okay. But if you have any leaks sitting in, and this happens, I'm sad to say, every year there's a report of somebody in a Jeep in deep snow idling.
We had one here just in the mud.
And the CO2 came in through the body plugs, because a lot of us leave our body plugs out, or through body seams, and it kills them with, CO2 poisoning.
The whole family, young child, nothing.
Everything. So check your exhaust systems now. Again, this is another one that's all this maintenance as you're moving into winter. It's now is an easier time to deal with it, easier time to fix it. You can always buy a floodlight if it's after dark when you get home from work and crawl under your Jeep and address those things now.
And even again, a lot of those dealerships, a free 21-point inspection. I know dealerships get a bad rap of being a stealership, but free 21-point inspection, most of the stuff we talked about, they will check it.
They check it. And the idea is they want to have you come back as a customer, you know. And so those are just some of the little garage segments that, I recommend for the winter. I know I used to do it when I was up in central Pennsylvania, northern Virginia, and we would get, plenty of the snows and plenty of the issues, and particularly in my case, when I was growing up out on a farm, and no pun intended, I literally was, that was our lifeline. If our vehicles didn't run, we didn't get out to the grocery store, I didn't get to school, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, my dad kind of made that one a point in my life. You will make sure these things are running correctly.
No, and we talk about it, but one of the things that's I guess you could say critically important about this whole subject is that it's I say now I'm grasping for words because I literally just
concept.
Well, not just the concept, but it might seem remedial. People are like, "Oh, I already know, I do this."
But did you do
You're
it?
talking to a guy again that plugged in the line out in the headphones, and I've done this 1,000 times. It's good sometimes to refresh.
It is, and if you've already done this, wonderful. I salute you. That's fantastic.
Help those who haven't.
Help those that haven't, because if you're a pro at this, look around your Jeeping friends. Jeepers help Jeepers. And I guarantee you don't have to look too far before you find somebody who hasn't.
Yeah.
You don't even have to do it for them, but you can go walk over and go, hey, do you know these tires aren't winter rated? Just knowing that might help them driving.
Yeah, but make sure you do it in a proper way.
Don't go, yo, dude.
Yeah, we don't need a guy that's constantly pointing out other people's flaws. Let's use some common sense.
The idea here is help.
We always talk about wrenching parties. A safety check / getting ready for winter party.
There you go.
A chance to have a bonfire and
if you've got a big garage or a big driveway and room like that, make it a bring your own burgers to the grill, fire a grill up and say, bring them on over. And you know what? If you get together and you talk to some of your local auto parts stores, sometimes they'll come out and bring discount and containers for waste oil, waste antifreeze. I know they've done that around here for those kind of wrenching parties, and everybody can get together and have a heck of a good Saturday, or and get a lot of Jeeps done. And changing the oil is a dirty, messy job. Let's face it, getting the filters. But if you're doing a bunch of it and everybody's joining in together, and you got people handing you filters and handing you wrenches and dragging away the old oil, it isn't such a bad thing.
No, it's not. But remember, eggnog afterwards.
Yeah, I was going to say the adult beverages to be consumed after the work, because you don't want your Jeep to be the one that, Why is there Burt gin at my radiator? Exactly. Or the one who somebody was like, hey, did y'all know that the impact gun will put drain plugs on?
Speaking of impact gun, I'm so glad you said that. I have to share. It's a garage thing, but you'll love this.
Okay.
It has a Milwaukee impact battery thing, and it says torque, 185 pounds, and it shows a picture of a Toyota pickup truck, 22 RE motor, 157 pounds. So there's more torque in a Milwaukee impact cordless drill than there is in an old 22 RE.
Yeah. And I drove
albeit the 22 RE will still be running in 20 years.
Yes. And the Milwaukee, if you ran it to max torque as much trying to pull a load up a hill, the battery would die in 15 feet.
Exactly.
So anyway, that's kind of a thoughts on the garage segment for today. It's just a reminder to you're about ready to work the Jeep in just as hard as you ever did on a trail, but perhaps on a slightly higher risk.
Yeah.
On the trail, if you follow good trail etiquette, you don't wheel alone. Well, I got news for you. You're driving in winter snow, and you often are driving alone.
Yeah.
So
and it can be just as treacherous.
Just as treacherous. So, take care of your Jeep. Take care of yourselves. We always advise, those of you who live up in the really cold areas, make sure you pack yourself a winter kit. It's been several of our past shows.
Yep.
Some
blankets, hot hands, blankets, a couple granola bars, some bottles of water.
Yep.
And, no Burt gin.
Nope. Stay away from the alcohols.
Yeah.
And, unless it's a matter of life or death, don't try and use your vehicle heater if you're stuck in a snowbank, because that's how you end up with CO2 poisoning.
Well, that's why I said those chemical hot hand things
are good for that.
Yeah.
And then at least 2 forms of communication is what we always recommend. So if you've got 2 cell phones or a cell phone and or CB radio or something like that, because, you want to be able to be found if at all possible.
Text before you leave.
Yeah, where you're going and what route you're taking if it's really Nowheresville.
In Nowheresville, yeah. Again, how many times have we seen on the news about someone being lost and they found their car in a ditch?
Yep.
The cell phones are great, but if you roll the car over and you can't get to it.
Yep.
So, anyway, I'm going to click the door down if that's okay. Have you got anything else? Well, I think we do.
We do?
We do. While you're doing all this maintenance, while you're taking the time to make sure that you do what's right and, to be safe, jack stands. Make sure you're using the proper safety equipment. We just had a local person.
Yeah, he posted an interesting situation. He's what I call a lucky dog.
Yeah.
And a lucky dog is anybody who has an accident because we all know accidents happen.
Yeah.
They're not all avoidable. But he was wearing the appropriate safety gear. He was doing some grinding or cutting.
He was using a grinding disc or cutting disc.
A cutting disc on a 4-inch grinder, and the wheel shattered. And I don't know if any of you out there listening have been through that. I have.
Scares the heck out of me.
It is scary. When that disc comes apart, it shatters and throws shards everywhere. That's why I now keep the guard that came with the 4-inch grinder on the grinder, and have learned that it is adjustable and you can change the position. And yes, it's worth stopping the wheel to move the guard and starting again. It takes maybe 15 seconds. I can waste 15 seconds to keep my body parts firmly attached to my body
or pierced.
So the wheel shattered and one of the shards hit him in the hand. It hit hard enough it might well have amputated his finger. But he was wearing some heavy leather work gloves in addition to eye protection. And what the picture he shows is the glove from the
pointer finger,
from the knuckle to the second joint in his pointer finger. The glove was sheared completely open. Looked like somebody had taken a machete to hack it open. It did get through. And he has about a half-inch cut on his skin.
You got a boo-boo.
He got a boo-boo.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, he still has his finger firmly attached. So hats off to him, and thanks for, more importantly, being brave enough to share that information with us. A lot of people will be like, "Oh, I'm not going to tell you that I hurt myself."
Yeah.
But he actually did the proper safety gear, and it did what it was supposed to do, which was take the brunt of the injury, so that the individual is he's going to heal up very quickly and got back on. As Scott always says, kind of tongue in cheek, he says, you lose a finger, it's kind of hard to press that enter key on the keyboard when you
or the subscribe button or the play button. Like, you're out a set of work gloves, because let's be honest, let's not reuse them.
Yeah, please
don't.
But
hey, you can now point at things, going, there it is, there it is. You can use a TV remote to watch football. You can hold a drink.
Yeah. So while you're doing all this maintenance, take the appropriate safety precautions. It only takes a moment. Use jack stands, please.
Well, that's a two-folded statement. It only takes a moment. It only takes a moment to do something safety, and it only takes a moment for something to go really bad, really quick.
That's very, very true. And the other thing is dispose of your waste materials properly.
Yeah.
That I still shake my head every time I see somebody post, well, I take my used oil and pour it around the foundation because it's a good termiticide. Yeah, but it also poisons the water table underneath. You don't realize that oil doesn't stay there. It migrates and it continues to move till it hits groundwater and then gets carried away. So the well you poison may be your own.
Yeah.
And don't even get me started on antifreeze. It seems harmless. It smells sweet. Well, it's a highly toxic material, and it does have a long lifespan. So, those really need to be disposed of properly. Old batteries, that's lead, folks. They banned paint with lead in it because it was causing brain injuries to young children. Yet you have a brick of it sitting outside your garage that's been sitting on the ground there for the last 5 years.
Some places will take like a core charge. They won't give you the whole $12, but they'll give you $2.
Yeah, well, I'd rather just take it to them so that they take care of it.
I'm not tripping on it.
Yes. So, dispose of your waste materials properly. I don't know about each individual state, but most states who sell motor oil have to take waste motor oil, and they'll sell gear oil. You take waste gear oil. It costs you nothing other than the trip.
And when we talk about what works for us, what didn't work for us, I'll be honest with you. Before me and you did this show, Kevin, I no joke, I will be the first to admit this on the radio. I had bottles of used motor oil, antifreeze, gasoline. I had all that stuff in the old house. I recently sold my house. I can't leave it in the garage.
Nope.
I had buckets of old paint from the previous owner, leaving it there. It took 2 seconds. Googled my local dump, took hazardous waste.
They had a hazardous waste
I pulled
day.
up there sheepishly going, I'm here to drop off oil. And they go, okay, just go over there. Do you have any batteries? I'm like, yeah, I have. Okay, just put it in that bin over there. Go over here. Have a nice day. Yep. And it was free. I'm like,
non-judgmental, no pointing fingers. Nothing. It was a service they offered for free because they would rather see it properly taken care of than put back into the environment. And I really hate to get on and preach, but being an engineer and having had the environmental training and all that stuff like that, I now know what that stuff will do to the world. And it's amazing when you actually look into getting rid of it. My biggest expense is I went on Amazon and, believe it or not, I bought a 5-gallon fermentation jug that you use to make beer. And I know it may be sacrilege to use something that was made for beer making.
Thousands of listeners cry out in horror, no!
But you can buy more. It was the cheapest heavyweight jug that I could get.
It's cheaper than buying a New Earth.
Oh, it was, I think it was $20, $25.
Yeah.
Came here, and it's perfect. It holds 5 gallons. It's translucent. It's kind of milk jug colored. Mm-hmm. In fact, that's kind of what it reminds me of, is an oversized milk jug.
Right.
And it will hold 2 oil changes out of the diesel, about 5 Jeep oil changes, and when you cap it, it's airtight, which means I can happily set it in the back of the Jeep, drive down to my local auto parts store. I can carry it because it's got a nice handle on it.
Yep.
And it has an air valve, cap, so that when you pour, it doesn't go blorp, blorp all over you.
Spit all over the tank and all that. And the next year you're that person at the auto parts store.
And you pour it on out, put the cap on. They go, thanks, and you walk off.
Isn't it a Christmas gift idea?
It's kind of a neat idea, yeah. It'd be kind of weird trying to explain the Christmas gift, but if you've got a wrench jockey in your house that does all of your own maintenance and, is using, and I speak from personal experience, empty milk jugs and kitty litter bottles.
Mm-hmm. Or clothes detergent jugs.
Yeah. And both clothes detergent and kitty litter, make sure the oil's cold before you pour it in there. I found out that the kitty litter bottles are a low temperature plastic, and I reached and I grabbed the handle, and the jug started stretching up like an Alice in Wonderland scene, and I'm like, oh no, how far?
You had the one that makes you bigger, didn't you?
I get the garden hose out and was keeping the outside of the bottle cool till it cooled down enough that the bottle would stay together. It had a unique shape when I finally took it in.
What did we learn, Kevin? So, hey, I think we should let me go ahead and hit this garage door. Hold on one second.
Yeah, get back inside.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're back at the table.
Yeah, I got a quick question. When I hit the button, the pink Christmas tree aside, but what's with the superhero cape and the tights? Are you moonlighting as some kind of superhero?
Not even close. You can keep trying. The only superhero, and this was the last show too, that I was allowed to wear is the one that's in desert camo. Okay. And that was only loaned for a very short while. So,
well, that got real all of a sudden.
Hey, it did.
It did. But hey, on that note, Kevin and I want to thank you very much for joining in today's show.
Yep.
And and
only one more for this year.
Yeah, one more for this year. But on that note, though, I know the show's kind of gone kind of long, but take a few moments to say thank you to your loved ones and stuff like that. And another thing too that Kevin and I really want to kind of reach out to you guys. YouTube's a really cool way we're branching out now, and we're trying to add more videos. Some of these shows I know were Patreon exclusives. I went ahead and Kevin did all the editing, and they look beautiful. Kevin does an excellent job with the editing. I got to give him. I had a post on there that I am so proud to have him as a partner in this, because he's invaluable to the show, And what I did is I made those shows public, the SEMA shows, because I want the vendors to show how hard work we do. So if you can, take a few minutes to look at them, subscribe, tell your friends about them. Because again, we do have our Patreon page, but again, it's Christmas.
And how do they find them on YouTube?
Well, they can search us on the Trail Podcast with Kevin and Scott, or On the Trail with Kevin and Scott. I'll put a link inside the show notes.
Okay.
You have their Patreon page too, but again, subscribe, tell people about the show. And that's pretty much all I can think of. As a gift to Kevin and I for the year, subscribe, share the show. Share? I still can't. You know what? I know what I want for Christmas. The ability to speak. Yes. The ability to speak. I went all Elver Fuddy all of a sudden.
Well, what can I say? It's hell getting old.
You say that, but
here, no matter how old
I am with my cell phone, holding it out arm's length, going, crap, I'm 45 now, 44. I can't do the math.
Something, though,
I was born in 75.
Born in 75. That was the... Oh, God. That was the year before I graduated from high school.
Is it the first year you retired?
Not quite. Not quite.
Ow, he's kicking me on the table. Patreon's help. Ow, ow.
They can see that I'm sitting too far away for that. And besides, it would be a much more creative way to induce pain. Folks, as he checks the bottom of his chair for implements.
I'm just looking for a jump pack or something like that, like a shocker. I've seen Ghostbusters. I know how that works.
I don't bother with Hollywood special effects. So anyway, folks.
Oh my God, Ghostbusters. He was there. Oh, I didn't mean to Jacob Marley there. You know what's funny is I was putting the propane chain around my propane tanks today at the campsite, and as I'm going through there, you know what's going through my mind? My God, Scott, you're louder than Jacob Marley. Christmas reference there, guys.
Yeah, see, I remember it the other way, which was he wears the chains he forged in life.
Uh-oh. Let me check the chair again.
So, folks, on that note, as we have, Scott mentioned several times, we have gone rather long on this show that was supposed to be a short show, but, we kind of keep doing that.
Yes.
So, as we usually say, enough talking.
Time to lock some hubs.
Put the Jeep in 4 low.
And remember to take nothing but your
hit the
papers,
trail.
memories, and your trash when you hit the trail.
Why do we even bother writing an outro?
This is the train wreck. On that note, guys, you guys and gals have a wonderful time.
Yeah, have a good holiday season. Be safe out there. Remember your loved ones, and remember the reason for the season.
That's right. And December 15th, the next one.
Yep. Bye now.
Proceeding has been provided for entertainment only. Proper service and repair procedures are vital to the safe, reliable operation of all motor vehicles, as well as personal safety of those performing those repairs. Standard safety procedures and precaution, including the use of safety goggles and proper tools and equipment, should be followed at all times to eliminate the possibility of personal injury or improper service which could damage the vehicle or compromise its safety.
What he said. Thanks a lot for listening, guys. You guys have a great day.
Bye.
This has been a Bent Axle Media production.